May I come in, sir?
Please come in.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
So, Ashutosh, please take a seat.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Ashutosh, you are already in Indian Audit and Account Services.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you have opted only for two services, one in Indian Administrative Services and the Indian Police Services.
Yes, sir.
Why do you want to join Indian Administrative Services?
So, the way I see the civil services, so I feel that the executive side of the civil services is something that is much suited for me and for my career growth as well as personal growth. So, that is the first reason I want to join Indian Administrative Services. So, the opportunities, the exposure and the way the decision making and the implementation part of the IAS is something that I really like.
All right, tell me one thing, that most of the CAGs, Controller and Auditor General, had been from the civils, from the IAS. Why? Do you think it's a good idea, or do you think it would have been better as somebody from the Indian Audit and Account Services being promoted as a CAG?
So, if we go back in the history, sir, the first two CAGs have been from the Indian Audit and Account Services, and thereafter all the CAGs have been IAS officers or ex-IAS officers. So, I believe the way Constitution says that the President has the power to appoint.
No, that's fine. I am not saying that who can appoint or who cannot appoint. I think that, do you think it's a good idea to have IAS officer at the helm of the affairs on?
So, I believe, sir, it is a good move. The reason being that the IAS officer throughout their career have been exposed to a variety of fields through their field postings, and then later in the career in the ministry.
They spend only 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years maximum in a particular department. So, they do not acquire enough expertise of any particular department or ministry. So, don't you think that's detrimental?
So, the role of CAG is not actually to audit or the accounts part of it. The idea is to give a larger picture.
It's basically for navigation purpose.
Yes, sir.
Because at that level, you got to navigate so that you arrive at a particular decision. You are basically some kind of a bridge between the audit arm of the government and other department, ministries and that kind of thing. All right. And that's why you want to become IAS, so that you become CAG later on.
So, if that opportunity comes to me, I will be very happy.
All right. Today's newspaper, I mean yesterday, and that Hindenburg's report on Adani. What do you think of this report? What exactly is the problem? If you had to explain it to your say mother, how will you explain the wrongdoing or not wrongdoing of Adani Enterprises? Because it's more like your audit. You are doing some kind of an audit of the affairs of Adani. Tell me.
So, to my mother, as somebody who doesn't know much about economics or corporate world.
That's the idea is basically don't use any technical jargon. Use simple language so that you will be able to explain. Suppose a politician, that's why I said your mother. So, you are asked to explain it to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister is not supposed to know the nitty-gritty of all that nonsense, economic nonsense. But you should be able to explain very effectively what exactly is happening. Tell me now.
So, I would tell her or somebody who doesn't know much about the corporate that any money that the corporate uses in their day-to-day functioning is being led by the market, and the market is the public's money, and it's their responsibility to use that money with a lot of accountability, and that is where the whole manipulation of accounts, that is the question.
What is the manipulation? This is what I am asking. Where is the manipulation in this?
So, there has been questions of stock manipulation.
Like what? What exactly has been done? Give me an example. That's why I gave that example to your mother.
So, I would tell her that company issues stocks to people, and sometimes it manipulates or create an artificial demand or artificial scarcity of its stocks to increase or decrease the prices of its stocks.
So, how does it do? It is expected that all these things will be determined by the market forces, and then on the stock exchanges there are large number of buyers, large number of sellers, and the price will be determined. So, how is he manipulating his stock? And then stock को manipulate भी कर लिया, and suppose the shape of a particular entity becomes very high, then what happens? So, what is wrong in that?
So, there are two ways of manipulating a stock. One is you show a wrong picture of your company, that we are doing very well, you are manipulating the numbers, you are manipulating the revenues.
What exactly is this report saying on this?
So I have not been able to go into much detail of it, but I know there's a problem of short selling. That is, the company is
What
buying.
absolutely. Okay.
So the company and a lot of its, sorry sir, I'm not exactly aware of it, but short selling, it constitutes that it's something that buying at a very low cost and selling at a very high price and making the profit out of that margin.
That is not short selling. अगर आप लो naturally it is expected to, अगर आज ये पेन 2 रुपए का है, it is expected that tomorrow it will be 2.50, तो मैं 2 रुपए में खरीद लूँगा और मैं सोचूंगा इसको 2.5 रुपए में बेच दूँ, तो I'll make some money. That is not short selling. Short selling is something different.
Sorry sir, I'm not very well aware of it, sir.
Mr. Ashutosh, tell me what is the meaning of creative accounting? These days we are talking a lot about creative accounting in Adani and so many other firms. What's that?
So creative accounting, so though the word has a very positive connotation, but in the accounting world it has a very negative connotation, wherein the idea of window dressing comes in, where the companies try to show a different picture through some creative methods. For example, sir, they will disclose the assets of their company by not showing it in the balance sheet, but maybe in notes to the accounts. This is one way in which they change the whole picture through creative ideas.
Few years back there was a concept of twin balance sheet problems of Indian corporate sector. What's that?
So the twin balance sheet problem was related to the increasing NPAs both in the public sector as well as the corporate sector.
Bank.
Public sector banks, yes sir.
Are you sure?
Sir, as far as I can remember, sir.
Twin balance sheet problem basically was concept that if a bank which has given loan to a firm, if that firm is in trouble, balance sheet of that firm is in trouble, the balance sheet of the bank which has given loan will also be in trouble.
Yes, sir.
So it's not about two public or private sector banks, it's about a private firm,
Right.
and any bank, public or private. So these days we are talking a lot about twin balance sheet problem in case of Adani, because so many banks have given loan to Adani firms. So if it is really a problem, that will be a twin balance sheet kind of problems. You have mentioned you are interested in cricket also.
Yes.
Right? Don't you think that the whole IPL has made the whole cricketing business a tamasha? I mean, singers, dancers and all these cheerleaders, and for those games which have no official records value before ICC or any official cricket, don't you think it's completely nonsense?
So I'm sorry, sir, I would like to differ, sir, because for somebody who loves cricket, somebody who has watched cricket for a very long time, sir, IPL gives a huge, as you said, sir, it gives an entertainment aspect to the sports, but at the same time, sir, it has been a huge push to the whole idea of cricket as a career, because now more and more people are taking cricket as a full-time profession. So these two reasons, I would say IPL has been a game changer. So when it comes to the ICC, sir, ICC itself has recognized the IPL in terms of its legal validity, but at the same time, sir, it also has acknowledged the contribution it has done, not just Indian cricket, but even the global cricket. So these are the reasons I would sir, defend IPL and its sanctity, sir.
Any reasons for problems of Pakistan's economy, if you can offer us, our neighbor country?
So the first reason that I can think of right now is that because most of the economies are still in the recovery phase after COVID, so Pakistan is one such country because I believe it does not have a lot of economic or industrial establishment, but at the same time, sir, I believe it has also a lot to do with the debt diplomacy or the debt trap diplomacy of China, because Pakistan has taken a lot of debt from different countries, and so it is not able to repay a lot of them. So that might be another reason why Pakistan is in economic crisis. And so the slide of Pakistani rupee has also been in news very recently. So although I'm not sure of the numbers, but I believe there have been certain issues with the imbalance of the exports and imports.
Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman few days back has said that she comes from middle class, so therefore she has an idea of problems middle class faces. Suppose you are advisor to Madam Nirmala, and she asks you, please offer me some suggestions to make this budget middle class friendly. Tell us the suggestions.
So I believe the budget, because it has also, it impacts the sentiments. When we say it is a budget, middle class friendly budget, it has a lot to do with the sentiments of it. But at the same time, sir, as the previous budget also talks about a barbell strategy, which talks about a good balance between marketism and welfareism. So the middle class, though it is not totally dependent upon the government, but at the same time, it has a lot of takeaways from the budget. So here I can suggest her to take certain measures when it comes to maybe skill development, more job opportunities, and maybe the proper, we can push towards implementation of occupational codes and labor codes, which have been due for a very long period. But at the same time, sir, I would not suggest her to go completely populist measure, because eventually we are already dealing with a lot of inflation. So I would not suggest her any kind of a very populist measure, but at the same time we should focus on structural issues, for example the problem of infrastructure, which does not directly but indirectly impacts and benefits the middle class.
Okay, sir.
Hello Shivam.
Yes, sir.
You were born in Champaran. Can you tell me what role did Champaran Satyagraha play, especially when it comes to introduction of Mahatma Gandhi in the Indian national movement?
Sir, Champaran is recognized as one of the first mass movements wherein Mahatma Gandhi was able to bring the masses into the fold of the national independence.
How was it significant for Gandhi?
So, Gandhiji also tried his and tested his methods of civil disobedience in Champaran, which later became a very huge movement in 1932. So, and sir, after that, more importantly, sir, the farmers, which were the larger constituency of our demographic population at that period, so the taking up the issues of the farmers, the problems of the Tinkatia system. So, the Tinkatia system.
Okay. All right. Now, you were secretary for welfare of differently abled students.
Yes.
Are you a differently abled person yourself?
No, sir.
Then do you think it's fair that somebody who is fully abled is representing differently abled people?
Yes, sir, I believe it's fair because the whole idea is to work towards the welfare of the differently able students.
Don't you think it would be better if they represent themselves?
So if I can explain you the structure of how my college union works. So we used to have, sir, a minister for every such department and then a secretary. So sir, the minister to the differently able student was a person who was specially abled, and I was a secretary because...
Okay, so you were basically a bureaucrat there also.
Yes, sir.
In that organization. All right. You took sociology as an optional.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to me the difference between caste and race?
So the caste and race are different in terms of its origins. Race is more, because in the literature perspective, race is more attributed to the physical features, the phenotype and the genotype, whereas caste is more socially constructed and in some ways is more dominant in India as compared to different parts of the country. So race is a more of a global thing and biological, where race is more socially constructed and more India-centric.
All right. And which one do you think is worst? Casteism in India or racism in US?
So I believe both are huge.
If you have to pick one, which one would you pick is the worst?
So because I live in India and I have been exposed to the problems of caste more, so I would say it's worse, but at the same time, if we see globally, people are also facing a lot of racial issues.
All right. Thank you, Shivam.
Thank you, sir.
Shivam, so I can see that you like to play and watch cricket.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about something about inside out shot? What is it?
So inside out shot is a shot that is mostly played against the turn of the ball if we're talking about a spinner, and wherein the shot is played towards the off side of the batsman, and it's also mostly lofted in nature, sir.
Okay, so you have sociology as optional.
Yes.
Can you tell us how does the salad bowl conception of society differs from the melting pot? Salad bowl conception of society differs from melting pot conception of society.
So if I may use an example, sir, India and USA are considered these two different models of ethnic assimilation. Salad bowl is where all the different diverse identity people live together, but at the same time they acknowledge their differences and it's very clearly visible, but they live together. Whereas melting pot is more like when all the diversities and differences diffuse and they all become part of one larger identity.
So we are working well as a salad bowl society. We are working well as a salad bowl society. Will you say that?
So I believe, sir, we in different points of time in history, we have been at different stages. So we were a salad bowl point. Now we are also moving up because more and more the society is being urbanized. We are also becoming a lot into melting pot model of assimilation, sir.
Okay. You have also worked for the welfare of differently abled students.
Yes.
So how do you analyze the paradigm for the welfare of differently abled people in our country?
So I believe the government and the state has worked a lot towards the infrastructural part of, for example, the accessibility of differently able through various schemes like. Yes, so I believe so we're doing very good because according to a report by Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, sir, when we did accessibility office of mostly the government offices, because that was part of the scheme, so around 70 to 75% of government offices are now accessible to them. So, but what I feel is still a problem is the stigma part of it, because a lot of differently abled people face a lot of stigmatization in the society. That is something that I think we can still work a lot
What about the
towards.
buses in Delhi that ply in Delhi, government buses that ply in Delhi, are they differently friendly to different?
So here, so the old buses are not, and we have not been able to improve their structure, but at the same time, the new buses which are being introduced, they are very much accessible to differently abled. Sir.
Did you watch the Republic Day parade recently?
So yes, I watched a few parts of it, sir, not the entire.
What to your mind were the distinctive features of this year's Republic Day parade?
So one thing that I can recall is that the military equipments that were showcased, exhibited in the parade, they were all Indian made. So that was one big major change in this parade. So apart from that, so I could feel there was a lot of focus toward the G20 aspect of it now that we are holding the presidency of it. So that aspect was very well exhibited and India is taking up that responsibility of the press.
Okay. What is to your mind the strategic importance of Egypt for India?
So one most important is that Egypt is where the geopolitical location of Egypt, and also Egypt being part of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. So OIC has generally been very hostile towards of India when it comes to making statements regarding Kashmir or various issues of secularism in India. So Egypt is somewhere we have found a common ground when it comes to economy, because they are the largest importers of wheat. We are one of the largest exporters of wheat. So there are a lot of meeting grounds which can then be used in strategic implication when it comes to India's space in larger global diplomacy. So Egypt can play a very good role in bridging the gap between India and a lot of Islamic Republic countries or the West Asia, Middle East countries.
Okay. Thank you. That is all from my side. I will pass on to Chairperson.
Thank you.
So Shivam,
Yes.
you call your Shivam or Ashutosh? Ashutosh. So what do you think of your interview?
So I believe I could have done better at a lot of places, sir.
So Ashutosh, you are already in the Audit and Account Services, and you are opted only for 2 more services, IAS and IPS. So the interviewing panel would expect much more than what a normal candidate is expected to perform. So, and because since you are already in the services, so some basic level have already been achieved by you. You are a fantastic candidate, there is no doubt, because you have reached to the level of Indian Audit and Account Services.